Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Punters Lounge Cheltenham Day One Tips podcast. I'm your host, Darran Pearce, and I'm joined today by the Punters Lounge horse racing tipster, Steve Simmons, aka the Brigadier to forum members. This is the first of a four-part series previewing the races taking place at this year's Cheltenham Festival, so click the subscribe button to ensure you don't miss out on future content. First episode, we'll take a look at the 7 races taking place on day one on Tuesday, the 12th of March, with the feature race, of course, being the Champion Hurdle. Before we get started, if you want to stay up to date during the festival with in-depth race car expert tips and the latest odds and results, head over to punterslounge.com. Now let's get started by taking a look at the big race on day one, the Champion Hurdle. And of course, the big news, Steve, is we're without Constitution Hill.
Yes, I mean, what a shame that is, isn't it? I mean, he's the pin-up boy of National Hunt Racing, and for him not to be there, it has taken something away from day one for sure. But still got to find the winner, Darran, haven't we? And in his absence, the Willie Mullins runner, State Man, is going to be very hard to beat. Mullins or Henderson have won this race 10 out of the last 15 years, and there was a lot of people thinking that State Man might actually have put it up to Constitution Hill before he got scoped wrong. So it's going to be very hard to beat. It looks like it's going to be going to Close Sutton, doesn't it? I'm afraid.
Certainly does. I know Gordon Elliott's talking about possibly rerouting Irish Point into this race now. Constitution Hill isn't running. Of course, he's one of the leading fancies for the Stayers Hurdle later on in the week. But it sounds like he's going to try and persuade the owners to run in the Champion Hurdle instead.
Yeah, well, the owners, Rob Corr, have got Tiapu, haven't they, in the Stayers Hurdle? So it sort of makes sense from their perspective to split the pair and run Irish Point here. But he was so impressive over 3 miles on heavy ground last time. He's got officially £16 anyway on his best form to find with State Man. He wouldn't be for me. I like the horse, but he looked all about stamina last time, and I understand where the owners are coming with this, but I don't think he'll be within 5 to 6 lengths of State Man at the finish.
And Lossiemouth still likely to be talking about her later on for the mares.
Well, I mean, Lossiemouth, Willie Mullins said that he's going to have a conversation with Rich Ritchie, the owner, about whether she comes here. But we know what Willie Mullins is like. He loves having winners, and for him to have 2 short price winners on day one in State Man and Lossiemouth, it just makes more sense, really. So it would surprise me if she was rerouted here. But if she was, it would make it an interesting race because she gets that £7 mares allowance, which we saw with Honeysuckle in the past, is vital. I'd still expect State Man to beat Lossiemouth, but she might finish second for Team Mullins there.
Now, at the time of recording, everything else is in double figures. So if we're looking for a forecast play to finish second to State Man, which one do you think it might be?
Very hard. I think I'd rather be playing on the distances, to be honest. I think State Man could come home alone here. Nemean Line's an interesting runner. Kerry Lee, love to see her have a horse that runs well in a race like the Champion Hurdles, training in Wales. He's a progressive horse, but again, he's got £23 officially on ratings to find with State Man, so it's very hard to see him bustling up the favourite, but he might hit the frame with a big price. Nikki Henderson was talking up the Chia, but she's got even more to find. For me, this is a one-horse race for State Man.
Many bookmakers are rolling out some fantastic free bets and promotions to get you in on the action at Cheltenham. If you're on the hunt for the best offers, we've got you covered. Just click on the free bets link in the description below where you can claim top free bet offers for the Cheltenham Festival. Well, let's move on to the traditional curtain raiser of the Cheltenham Festival, the Supreme Novices Hurdle. And we've got another horse here who may be running in another race in the shape of Ballyburn, because we're recording this on Tuesday, and yesterday he started to drift for the Supreme, and he was being backed in the other race that he's entered in. I think you're quite sweet on his chances wherever he goes, but obviously makes a little bit of a conundrum as to where he's running.
Yeah, it's very hard to get inside Willie Mullins' head. I mean, I saw the drift yesterday and everything else shortening and bluing up. I think the horse is very smart, and if he runs here, he wins. And I think if he goes for the longer trip on the on day two. I think he wins that. So it's a case of where he declared. We'll know on Sunday at 10 o'clock when Mullins puts his entries in. But yeah, it was strange the drift yesterday, but we'll see a little bit more. Mullins has got an excellent record in this race, as you'd expect. Between him and Nicky Henderson, they've won 8 of the last 11. But you've got to remember here, Willie Mullins, it's all about shuffling the pack with him because he does have others like Tully Hill, who was very impressive at Punchestown last time, Mystical Power, unbeaten, also in the Bear in Bingham. So it's a case of who he's going to run here. But I think if Ballyburn does turn up here, he'll be a very hard horse to beat.
So Ballyburn wins if he runs. If he doesn't run, what wins in his place?
Maybe Firefox, Gordon Elliott's horse. I mean, he's already got a victory over Ballyburn first time out this season. He was a bit disappointing last time, but that was a good win at Fairyhouse. Comprehensively put Ballyburn in his place. So whether Ballyburn wasn't fully straight that day, who knows? But yeah, Firefox for Gordon Elliott would run well. You've got the Nicky Henderson runner there, Jericho de Repenay. The form of its Doncaster winners now worked out well. The second and third finishing first and second in the Dovecote Kempton novice hurdle since. Whether he'd be good enough, I'm not sure. I think he looks a little bit quirky to me. He runs about a little bit, but maybe he's just raw. And then there's an outsider there, Darran, that could run well, but it would need the ground to dry up. And that's Ben Pauling's Tell Her the Name. Whenever we record this, it looks like it's going to be good to soft at best, really. It could even be soft come day one. But Ben Pauling has said this is the best he's ever trained. So you've got to respect that for a good trainer like him. But his 2 wins at Huntingdon have been gained on good to soft. So if it did turn up not too bad, the ground, he could run well at a big price. Tell Her the Name.
If you want to stay up to date with the latest goings on at Cheltenham, then you can find previews, tips, and betting trends and across our social media channels. Make sure you follow our Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube accounts to stay up to date with all the festival action. Links are in the description. Let's move on to the first novice chase of the meeting. It's, of course, the Arkle. We had big news yesterday at the time of recording that Marine Nationale has come out, unfortunately, suffered a season-ending injury, but not too serious. Hopefully, we'll see him possibly on the flat or next jump season, which leaves ante-post as the favourite for Willie Mullins, and Founder 50 is just behind him in the betting. And these two race at the Dublin Racing Festival when there was only a neck between them on that occasion, with Willie Mullins' charge just getting the better of Gordon Elliott's.
Yeah, there shouldn't be much between them, Darran, should there really? That was a neck between them that day. I think of the pair, I would probably favour Elliott's Founder 50. Thought he just got nabbed there on the run in, and with Marine Nationale not running, this race is really open, and it was a strange one yesterday, Marine Nationale coming out, because Barry Connell had been waxing lyrical about him over the weekend, and there was good money for him. And then he comes out and says that he's injured and he won't be running. Strange one that, but that's racing for you. Mullins also has Facile Vega in here. That was third in the Irish Arkle behind Elite Thompson, Founder 50. Got a little bit to find there, but it wouldn't be a shock if he turned up here. And also Hunter's Yarn. Now, he's an interesting runner because he was very impressive at Fairyhouse last time out. He does have other entry. No, sorry, he doesn't have other. This is his only entry for Simon Menier and Isaac Swade. So you'd expect him to be a runner, and I could see him running well. That's the best of the Irish. Ireland have won 6 of the last 9, so they're in a good position here. 5 of those with Willie Mullins.
Yeah, best of the British is JPR1 for Joe Tizzer, but I think on balance, you've got to say he's got a little bit to find, would you say?
Yeah, definitely for me, Darran. He won at Lingfield, didn't he, on their big Sunday meeting, the Lightning Novices Chase that used to be run at Doncaster. But on his previous form, I don't think he'd be as good as the Irish. Joe Tizard, mind you, has been, in the press, bigging him up and giving him a big chance. But to be honest, I don't think he'd be on my shortlist. No, not for me, that one.
So to sum up, who do you think's going to win?
I think Founder 50 can turn the form around for the Leopardstown form, and I'll take him to win a substandard Arkle. I think we'll all agree.
For those of you that are new to betting on Cheltenham, we've got something special for you. We've put together a complete how to bet on Cheltenham guide that's packed with tips, tricks, and strategies to help you navigate the festival betting scene. Plus, we've taken the time to review and rank the top Cheltenham Festival bookies, making it easier for you to choose where to place your bets. You'll find all these resources linked in the description below, so be sure to check them out. Right, the final Grade 1 on the card is the Close Brothers Mares Hurdle, and we mentioned Lossiemouth already in regarding to the Champion Hurdle, but chances are, as you said, she's likely to turn up here because she's going to be an odds-on favourite if she does.
Yeah, she is, and she takes a lot of beating, Darran. You know, I don't want to be tipping favourites all the time, but it's very hard to see her getting beaten. You know, she was impressive at the meeting last year when winning the Triumph Hurdle. She had, I don't know what was the matter with her, but she had quite a layoff, didn't she, before she reappeared in the Unibet at Cheltenham Trials Day. But she was impressive that day. I mean, she quickened over the last and put about 10 lengths between herself and a decent mare in Love Envoys. And on official ratings, she's going to be very hard to beat. You know, I think she's a banker really for most people. And it does look that type of day for Willie Mullins, doesn't it, on day one?
Yeah, I mean, the only other horse in single figures at the moment is also Willie Mullins trained in the shape of Astro Diamond, who won at Doncaster back in January.
Yeah, she did. And on official rating, she's £11 inferior to her stablemate. So it's hard to think that she would be beating her. But one horse that might run well, I'm not saying it would beat Lossiemouth, but might hit the frame with a big prize, especially if the ground is genuinely soft or even worse on day one, is Love Envoy. I mean, she won the Mares Novice Hurdle 2 years ago. And last year she was runner-up to Honeysuckle in this race. So, you know, that's good form. You have to look at her form this year. She was 9.5 lengths behind Lossiemouth at Cheltenham. So it's hard to think she'll win. But it'd be no shock if she hit the frame with a nice price.
Yeah, just one question going back to Lossiemouth, which I forgot to ask you, is about the trip. Obviously, she's never run over 2.5 miles before. Any concerns on that front regarding her?
Not really. I mean, it's the one reason that the bookmakers might want to take her on, but I thought she was strongest at the line at Cheltenham. That was 2 mile 1, but as you rightly say, she is stepping up another 3 furlongs here. So I don't know. I don't personally, Darran. I think she'll stay. But you know, there is that doubt there. That is the one doubt, isn't it? That she doesn't tick that box as yet.
Yeah, I just wonder if the ground does come up pretty testing, you know, soft or maybe even worse if they do get a lot of rain. I wonder if that might persuade them to reroute to the Champion Hurdle, because they might say, well, you know, 2.5 miles in really testing ground, that might just stretch her a little bit.
Yeah, it's possible, isn't it? I'm just reading quotes from Mullins and Rich Ritchie, the owner, that they don't seem to have any doubts about her staying, to be honest. But we'll see. As I said earlier, I think that they'd love to go into day one with big odds on chances, Lossiemouth and State Man to get 2 on the board straight away. But maybe they feel Astro Diamond can pick up the pieces if Lossiemouth was rerouted. It's quite possible.
Now, do you fancy yourself as a horse racing expert? If so, the Punters Lounge Forum has a free Cheltenham tipster competition running over the course of the festival. There will be exciting prizes up for grabs and the chance to test your expertise against fellow punters. Just head on over to the Punters Lounge Racing Forum, sign up and get involved. You can find the link in the description. But let's have a quick look through the remaining races on day one of Cheltenham. We'll go back to the Ultima, obviously the big handicap on day one. And Willie Mullins again has the favourite, Meeting of the Waters, who is being talked up as possibly being a Cheltenham Gold Cup contender next year. Well, if he's going to be that, then you've got to be thinking that off 147, he's got to be winning this.
Yeah, absolutely. Willie Mullins could be having a field day, couldn't he, on day one here? I mean, this is a novice. The horse has only raced, 5 times over fences? Actually, that should be 4, shouldn't it? Because he unseated at the first at Leopardstown last time. So he hasn't got much experience, but he won't mind a big field because there was 27 runners when he won the Paddy Power Chase at Leopardstown over Christmas. And there's been good money for him over the past week. And the horse does have other entries here, but it seems to be the money has come for him in this race. So you'd expect him to be running here. He's short enough, isn't he, now, around about 5 to 1 in what's going to be, like a maximum 24 runner handicap chase. But that's not to say he can't go and win. And as you rightly say, Darren, the yard like him a lot, don't they? They've talked about Gold Cups for him. 147 could be a gimme, but I don't know. 5-1 short enough for me. I want something a bit bigger than that.
Well, look, have a look at the gopher, Gordon Elliott's runner, because he's had an interesting prep race. He ran in the what they call the Up the Yard Challenge race at Punchestown last month, which he won very easily. That's a race on the flat for jockeys who work in the yard, so very inexperienced, not even amateur jockeys or conditional jockeys. Is basically stable staff. But he was very impressive. It looked like a decent enough prep, and he's been quite popular in the betting as well for this.
Yeah, not surprising. I mean, I think all that tells us is the horse is in one piece and in good form. But you've got to look back to this race last year. He ran fourth in the race last year to Corach Rambler, who was winning it for the second year on the trot. And he's still entered in this race. Whether he'll go here, I'm not entirely sure because he's off the top weight now and he's £13 higher. But going back to the Goffer, he was fourth last year. Beating 11 lengths, and he'll be £15 better off with Corach Rambler. So that should be enough for him to turn it around. And he was a 6-year-old then. He's a year older now, got more experience, and by the sort of profile of his form, you'd say he's probably been mapped out for this. I think he'd be a definite player for me. They've got a very interesting runner for Gordon Elliott.
So, what's your most likely winner?
Well, I do like that Kim Bailey's done well in this race before, and he's got a horse here that's very lightly raced, comes here as a novice called Chianti Classico. He's won a couple of races, and then he was second to Phlegmatic at Kempton off a 142. He's went up £1 for that. But I've always liked this horse. He's very lightly raced. He's won 6 of his 10 starts. Was a point-to-point winner in Ireland back in the day. I like him. I think there's more to come from him. David Bass will probably be riding him, and I do like that jockey. He fires them into the fences, and I think at the current prices, he would probably be my pick down in Chianti Classico.
All right, we'll move on to the Boodles Juvenile Handicap Hurdle. I think this is pretty much the trickiest race of the whole meeting, and it's been borne out in recent years as well. We've had some massive price winners at this race, including 80-1 3 years ago. But at the top of the market at the moment, Joseph O'Brien, whose horses always tend to be very popular at Cheltenham when he sends them over. Lark in the Morning is the horse in question, and he was third at Punchestown last time behind High Win. That was only a maiden hurdle, though. He's only had 3 runs in maiden so far, and he's yet to actually win.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about him, hasn't there? Been mapped out for this race, and strangely, in last month he was a non-runner 3 times in 10 days. Twice because of unsuitable ground, heavy ground, and once because he was off his feed. Seemed all a bit strange, to be honest, when at the time he might have needed a victory to actually get into the race. I mean, he's crept in here, number 21 currently off a 122. Again, as you said earlier, Darren, that you can get a big turn up in this race, and I just think, off of 4 or 5-1, whatever it is at the moment, seems short enough for me for a horse that hasn't won a race yet. So I'll be looking elsewhere personally.
So, like I say, big price runners have a good record in the race. Are we looking at a big price horse in this race, Steve?
Well, maybe not a massive price, but I like the Milan Tino there. He's trained by Noel George, the son of Tom George. This is a horse that's obviously having his first run in the handicap, like most of them here. Gets in off of 126. He's been third in 2 juvenile hurdles already at Cheltenham this year, won by Burdett Road and Sergino. Now, if like me, you think Sergino's the next superstar, well then, 126 might well be a nice mark. That would be my pick, but again, he's not a massive price. He has been well backed. He's owned by JP McManus, who has a few in the race, so no shock there really. But Ireland have won the last 6 here, Darren, so there's plenty of horses there that you could give a chance to, really.
Yeah, it looks like being a wide open affair. Right, we'll move on to the finale on day one, the National Arkle Chase. Another one for the novices. Used to be over 4 miles, but it's down to 3 miles 6. Of course, we've also got amateur jockeys riding here. And Corbett's Cross, who, of course, ran out last year at the Cheltenham Festival in the Albert Bartlett, is trained by Emmett Mullins. he was very unfortunate at Fairyhouse last time. I know it's got an F in the form, but if you saw it or if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it, because basically another horse jumped into him and gave Derek O'Connor no chance, and the horse no chance of staying up. So that was a very unfortunate, not ideal prep going into Cheltenham, but he's 9-4 favourite with Bet365 at the time of recording. Derek, I think, is going to be riding again. I think that's where he rode him the last time, and he looks to have very solid claims.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very sweet on him, to be honest. I mean, he probably would have won the Albert Bartlett last year, but for crashing out on the wing of the race won by Stay Away Faye. Chasing wise, yeah, he was probably a little bit unlucky without doubt last time. And he's going to have the bonus of Derek O'Connor, as you said, Darran riding. So he's got a massive chance. I think this trip's going to really suit him. He has got the Willie Mullins horse here to beat Embassy Gardens, and you just wonder what price he could go off if Mullins has had a good day. If he could be coming into this race having won with 4 of the first 6 races. It's quite possible, so even more maybe. But no, Corbett's Cross would be my pick over Embassy Gardens. Don't rule out the Nigel Twiston Davis horse here though, Broadway Boy. He's been nibbled at in the last few days as well. He's got track figures here of 1-2-1-1. He's also in the Brown Advisory, but I think it would make sense to come here because he does look an out and out stayer. And I think maybe each way he would be the best value each way. Broadway Boy.
Right, day one, Napa next best, please, Steve.
Oh, right. Nat would have to be Corbett's Cross. We just talked about him in the National Hunt Chase there. Next best, I'll go with Melantino. I think he'll run well in the Boodles. I do like the Sergino form.
Okay, that's about all we have time for on this episode. Don't forget to like and share this episode. Subscribe to the Punters YouTube channel and click the bell to receive notifications of new videos. We have 3 more episodes to come, obviously looking at the other 3 days of Cheltenham, so do keep an eye out for those. Also, if you want to stay up to date during the festival with in-depth race cards, expert tips, and the latest odds and results, then head over to punterslounge.com. And also, don't forget the Punters Lounge Racing Forum as well, where you can get involved, give us feedback, share your tips, and of course, enter the competition that will be taking place. Also, Punters Lounge supports responsible gambling. This podcast is intended for those who are over 18 years of age, and we strongly recommend that you only bet what you can comfortably afford to lose. Remember, gambling should be fun, not a method for financial gain. If you're concerned about your gambling, please visit GamCare, Gamble Aware, or Gamblers Anonymous for more information. All links are provided in the description below. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.